Please join me for a few moments of centering silence. And now, if you will remain seated as we join together in the in-gathering hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. Good afternoon. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison, where curious seekers gather to explore spiritual, ethical, and social issues in an accepting and nurturing environment. Unitarian Universalism supports the freedom of conscience of each individual, as together we seek to be a force for good in the world. My name is Erica Colmenares, and on behalf of the congregation, I would like to extend a special welcome to visitors. We are a welcoming congregation, so whoever you are and wherever you are on your life journey, we celebrate your presence among us. Newcomers are encouraged to stay for our fellowship hour after the service. That's usually in the Commons area. Today, it's going to be in the Hearth Room, which is what we call the back of the auditorium. Yeah, so just go that way. Members of our staff and lay ministry will be on hand to welcome you. If you are accompanied by a young child, please remember that if they need to talk and move around, the loggia area to my right is a good place to retire with them. And at this time, we ask that you turn off all of those handheld devices, cell phone, beepers, etc., that might cause a disturbance during our worship. I'd now like to acknowledge those individuals who help our service run smoothly. Our greeter today is Carol Rowan, and our RE greeter is Tammy Hoffmeister. Lay ministers are Bob Bradford and Shirley Chosey. Our ushers are Kirsten Sieper and Becky Burns. And if you would like to be part of that august group, and you really want to be part of that group, Karen Timberlake would welcome your help. She's at the back of here today, and she will also be in the Hearth Room following service to write your name down and get you on the volunteer list. Please note the announcements on the red floors insert in your order of service that describe upcoming activities here and provide more information about what's going on at FUS. There is a correction. The item on the Shawl Ministry drop-in meeting, the date is not correct. That's Thursday the 14th, not Monday. Thursday the 14th, the time is 10 to 11:30 as stated. And that's it. Again, welcome. We hope that today's spirit will stimulate your mind, touch your heart, and stir your spirit.
Heaven opens Let us come into this place of peace and tranquility, where we can relinquish our clutter and relax from busyness into being. Let us settle into that quiet place where the earth supports our bodies and the community lifts our spirits, where we can breathe in peace and center ourselves in love. Let us welcome that tranquility where our hearts can open and our thoughts can expand, where we feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of our years. If you will rise now in body or spirit to join in our chalice lighting, the words are printed in your order of service. May the light of this chalice give light and warmth to our community when we are joyful and when we despair. And may we feel the warmth spread from our circle to wider and wider circles until all know they belong to the one circle of life. And before we join together in song, if you take a moment now to turn and greet your neighbor. Please be seated. And if anyone would like to come up closer for the story, we've got some cute pictures today. Hi. Hello, Lauren. Hi, guys. Hi. Here's another one. All right. Well, have any of you ever seen this book? It was a new one to me. It's called The North Star. Have you ever seen the North Star in the sky? That really bright one? Thank you, Julie. Julie's going to show you the pictures. All right. There's a little boy in this book, and it is his story of going on a journey. A sweet breeze met the boy as he awoke to his journey. He traveled on all fours for quite some time, and he grew, and he paused. Do you all remember when you traveled on all fours? Do you sometimes still travel on all fours? It's still a good way to get around. One day he had the urge to stand, to walk. It made his journey easier. He could run too, but for the most part, he walked. He wasn't afraid of much. He wandered the fields exploring, sometimes stopping, sometimes going happily in circles, sometimes dancing, sometimes napping. Now one day the boy saw an oak leaf drift and land on the water. He wondered how the leaf managed to float, the way the stars seemed to float in the night sky. A spray of sand interrupted his thoughts. Who is it? Can you see in there? The rabbit, right? Where are you going in such a hurry? He asked. But the rabbit just ran out of sight, disappearing on a path the boy had never noticed before. So the boy left the floating leaf and he wandered toward the path. There he saw a cat, and the cat was purring, and the boy looked at the cat and he said, "Do you know where that rabbit was going in such a hurry?" He was in a rush to start his journey. It's time for you to start your journey too. "Oh, but I've been on a journey," the boy said. I've seen many wonderful things. Some I understand, some I don't. Like, how does that leaf float in the water? "Well, that is fascinating, but I would hate for you to be late. You don't want to be left behind." "Behind?" the boy said. "Who's ahead of me?" "Oh, you wouldn't know how many," said the cat. "You know, you're not the only one on this journey. There's plenty ahead of you. There's lots to follow." So the boy began walking down the path. It stretched out far ahead of him. Signs were pointing him along the way. Some parts were easy. Some were difficult. And although he was, look, did you see the difficult part? Look at that bridge. What do you think of that bridge?
Yeah, it says go this way.
And look at it's pointing in two different directions, and it's falling out from underneath him. Have you ever felt like that? Which way do I go? And yeah, exactly, just like that. Although he was following this well-worn path, he had this feeling growing maybe that he was lost. The forest seemed to be getting thicker and thicker, and the ground was getting really wet and muddy, and every step was just a struggle. Clouds rolled in overhead, and it was getting dark. So after many difficult miles, he could not take another step. So he noticed an oak leaf drift by in the sky, and it sailed with ease. It swirled on a breeze and was carried deep into the forest. The leaf disappeared behind a grove of trees, and he stepped off the path to follow it. He found it floating on a pond in a peaceful clearing like a delicate boat. And his thoughts were interrupted by a voice. "There you are, I was getting worried," said the cat. "Do not wander off like that. Now, let's hurry, you're falling behind." So the boy ran and ran and ran, and he noticed that the forest was getting thicker. The muddy ground was covered with water, and he couldn't see the path. He sloshed through the swamp and he came to a clearing in the forest, and there he saw a bird. "You look lost," the bird said. I don't think I'm lost. Well, I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure, the boy said. I really hadn't thought about it. "You hadn't thought about it," said the bird. "You had to have some idea of where you were going." "Well," said the boy, "I've been following this path, and it seems like lots of people have taken this path, and there's been signs pointing every which way, and this cat keeps putting me back on the path when I wander." And the bird said, "But where do you want to be going?" "I'm really not sure," said the boy as he looked around the swamp. "But I do know this is not where I want to be. I guess I am lost." So the bird said, "Ask yourself where it is you want to go, and then follow the signs you already know." "What signs?" said the boy. "Where are they?" But the bird had flown off into the cloudy sky. So the boy looked up into the sky, something he hadn't done in a long, long time, because he wasn't looking up. What was he looking at? He was looking down at the ground, right? He was trying to follow that path. So he tried desperately to see where that bird went, and as he did, the clouds seemed to melt, and there above him in the sky was a very, very bright star. Exactly. So the boy stared at the star, and he felt this tingling in his heart and a tingling in his spine, and he heard a whisper in his ear. He could hear the star, but the voice sounded really familiar. So he began to walk, following the star. And as he did, he noticed that there were many other stars stretched out above him like a great big map. They had been there all along, waiting for him. He stopped a moment, just staring at those guiding stars. "What are you staring at?" said a voice behind him. "What's up there? What's so interesting?" The boy got closer and said, "Stars, I'm looking at the stars." "What stars?" said a frog. "All I see is a dark sky and mist and green clouds." "You don't see them?" the boy said. "They're helping guide me out of the swamp. Do you want to come with me?" "No, thank you," the frog smiled. "I am quite at home here in this bog. I swam here as a tadpole, I grew up here, and here I'm gonna stay." So the boy realized at that moment that everyone has a different journey, different signs, different stars, their very own constellation. So the boy left the frog, who croaked a "good luck." As he ventured beyond the swampy forest, the boy heard a cry. It was that rabbit who'd been in such a hurry before. He looked tired and hungry, and he was stranded on a limb in the middle of the river. The boy waded out, and he realized that the river was really too deep. That rabbit was good and trapped. But then he saw that oak leaf drift by, and it gave him an idea. What do you think the idea was, the oak leaf drifting on the water? What did it make him think of? A boat. The boy made a boat out of swamp grass and twigs, and he rescued the rabbit. The boy smiled. Having helped that rabbit made the rabbit's journey easier. And the boy looked up. He noticed that that star looked even brighter. He followed the star, and as he did, the muddy ground grew drier, then grassy, then soft and sandy, and finally he came to rest atop a dune. And below him was a beach and a boat. The boy looked out toward the horizon. The star glowed steadily, reminding him that he had a long journey ahead. But it was his own journey, his very own wonderful journey. And look, what does it say here? The beginning. Because the boy, just like all of you, he's at the beginning of his journey. And I like this story. It reminds me to believe in dreams, in possibility, in following my heart on my own journey, just as the wise bird said. Listen to your heart, your inner voice, and that will lead you on the journey that you want to go on. Thanks for being such great listeners. We are going to sing you out to your classes. So if you all will rise in body or spirit, we're going to join in our next hymn.
Please be seated. You sound lovely. When Jesus was baptized, the Spirit descended on him like a dove, and God said, "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased." It must have been a great feeling, but it didn't last long. The next thing Jesus knew, the nice spirit that had descended on him like a dove became aggressive and drove him to the wilderness. There he spent 40 days of deprivation, self-examination, and confrontation with the devil. This was no Sierra Club hike through the Qumran National Forest. He suffered. He struggled. He was tested. Jesus' solitary struggles to remain true to his covenant and calling echo those of his ancestors who spent 40 years in the wilderness establishing religious community. Wilderness is a part of every person's soul journey and a part of our journey together as human beings who seek to live in community. Time in the wilderness is always a time of struggle. It's also a time of transformation and renewal. In traditional terms, it's a time of purification. The journey into the wilderness reminds us that we are alone and not alone. We are neither where we have been nor where we're going. There is danger and possibility, risk and promise. In the wilderness, the Spirit may descend like a dove and lift us on its wings of hope, and then drive us into the depths of despair. It may affirm us with the gift of grace, and then challenge us to change. In the stories and rituals of Eastern as well as Western religions, the journey into the wilderness represents a time when we both pursue and resist the holy. We may choose to enter the wilderness like the people of Yahweh to escape bondage, or like Henry David Thoreau to live deliberately. Or we may, like Jesus, be driven there without much choice. Once there, even our markers of time and space collapse. For this wilderness is not in space, or time, but it is the boundless territory of the soul.
And these thoughts from Mark Nepo. Somewhere in the Middle Ages, in a remote part of Germany, the introspective seer Mechthild of Magdeburg came upon the wisdom that living in our own natural element is the surest way to know the inner prosperity of health, peace, and joy. She wrote these words: "A fish cannot drown in water, a bird does not fall in air. Each creature God made must live in its own true nature." Her examples are striking. All we have to do is put the fish in the air and the bird in the water to see the dangers of being what we are not. Of course, it is very clear and obvious for both the fish and the bird where they belong. Not so for us humans. Part of the blessing and challenge of being human is that we must discover our own true nature. This is not some noble abstract quest, but an inner necessity. For only by living in our own element can we thrive without anxiety. And since human beings are the only life form that can drown and still go to work, the only species that can fall from the sky and still fold laundry, it is imperative that we find that vital element that brings us alive. I vividly recall my struggles as a teenager when my mother wanted me to be a lawyer and my father wanted me to be an architect. Somehow I knew I needed to be a poet. Something in it brought me alive. The only one to understand was my boyhood friend Vic, who in the midst of qualifying strongly for pre-med studies, realized he needed to be a florist. For something in working with flowers brought him alive. This is not about being a poet or a florist or a doctor or a lawyer or an architect. It is about the true vitality that waits beneath all occupations for us to tap into. If we can discover what we love, if you feel energy and excitement and a sense that life is happening, you are probably near your true nature. Joy in what we do is not an added feature. It is a sign of deep and abiding health.
It's only a paper moon sailing over a cardboard sea, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me.
Thank you, Catherine and Linda, for the gorgeous music today. An ancient wisdom tale tells the story of a monk who sat on the banks of the Ganges River with one of his students. As they watched the water flow by, a large scorpion began to make its way along the steep banks. Well, the scorpion falls into the water, begins to struggle, and drown. Without hesitation, the monk reaches in and pulls the scorpion from the water. And as he places it on the bank, it stings his hand. Now, several minutes later, this same scorpion fell again into the river and began to drown. Again, the monk reaches in, and again he was stung as he set the scorpion on the bank. A third time, the scorpion fell, and a third time it was retrieved by the monk with the same result. At this point, the student could take it no longer. "Master," he asked, "why is it that you keep saving that beastly scorpion from drowning? Can't you see that it is just going to keep stinging you?" "Yes, I know it's going to sting me," laughed the monk. "It is the nature and the purpose of the scorpion to sting, but it is my purpose to save." Now, I am sure that many of us would have some very pointed questions for this monk. And some of you might even be thinking of wise advice that you would like to share with him. But when I saw that the theme of this month was purpose, I immediately thought of this happy fellow sitting on the bank of the river. What would it be like to have such a defined sense of who we are, why we are here, and what we need to do, that we followed it without question, in spite of the consequences? Now, there's another story, this one from the great Sufi poet Rumi. He wrote this in the 12th century. "The master turned to his students and said, 'There is one thing in this world that must never be forgotten. You have come into this world for a particular task, and that is your purpose. If you do not perform it, then you will have done nothing.'" Now, we could go on with stories like this because they are found in the traditions and the cultures of the world. Among the Dagara people of Africa, it's said that each person comes into the world with a specific purpose, which we promptly forget the moment we are born. It is the task of our living to get that knowledge back and fulfill our purpose. Now, it's not only these traditional stories that remind us of the importance of purpose and meaning. The scientists are telling us this as well. In an article that was titled, "How Having a Purpose in Life Impacts Your Brain in a Big Way," author Ashton Applewright wrote these words: "We've known for quite a while that some people seem to escape cognitive decline well into their 90s and beyond. Intriguingly, the brains of these sharp older people often reveal the extensive abnormalities, like the plaques and the tangles that we see in people with Alzheimer's. We think it is because they've built what neuroscientists call cognitive reserve, extra neurons and extra connections between them that help prevent the signs of aging." When scientists at Chicago's Rush University Medical Center dug deeper, they uncovered another overarching factor. They examined the brain tissue of 246 people who died during a long-term study of more than 1,400 older men and women. The autopsy results were striking. People who exhibited very different levels of cognitive decline often showed the same damage within their brain from Alzheimer's. The brains that functioned better, it turned out, belonged to people who had indicated more purpose in life over the course of the study. In other words, having a goal in life affects cellular activity in the brain. Plaques and tangles still form, but having a goal increases the brain's protective reserve. Not only that, the stronger the purpose, the more it adds to the reserve. Other studies link a sense of purpose not only to slower rates of cognitive decline, but to lower rates of disability and death. This study defined purpose in life as the tendency to derive meaning from life's experiences and possess a sense of intentionality and goal-directedness that guides behavior. Now, this sense of intentionality and goal-directedness, I think, is easier to grasp at some points in our lives, and most difficult when we feel the world under us is shaky, or when we are woken up to the reality that life as we knew it is no longer possible. Those times when we find ourselves in the wilderness, either driven there by choice or by no choice of our own. Perhaps we face a divorce, a change of employment, or the end of a career that defined us, a move to an unknown place, the birth of a child, or the death of a loved one. We feel that this crucial piece of our life journey has ended, and a new one is beginning. But where is the map for this new path? Yet perhaps this time in the wilderness is more abundant than we might have originally thought. Wendell Berry once said that it may be when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. So where can we find a new map? Minister and therapist Wayne Mueller wrote about these 4 questions that could be a good starting point for us. Who am I? What do I love? How shall I live knowing I will die? What is my gift to the family of earth? Each one of these questions could be its own reflection. Each one is like a bud that can unfold into a 1,000-petaled flower. We will look at each one briefly. Who am I? Seeking the essential nature of who we are, our deepest selves, is a quest that theologians, philosophers, scientists, most likely all of us, have pursued and will continue pursuing. The question takes us to places of insight and self-knowledge that we would not discover if we didn't ask. At our core, without the labels or the names, who are we? What do I love? Mueller writes that we gain courage from honestly naming what it is that we love. When we know what our treasure is, where it is to be found, when we have identified what we hold to be sacred, what we hold to be of ultimate value, then we are filled with clarity of purpose and a powerful capacity to act on what we believe. Part of coming together here in community is the work of discerning, both as individuals and as a body of friends, what we love, and then supporting one another in the courage to act on it. How shall I live knowing I will die? This question is a powerful one. It can lead to the realization that our full presence in each moment is essential to living well. If I am able to show up fully in any given moment, that moment will reveal its beauty and possibility. Rather than letting the finite time span we have define our existence, it motivates us to make each and every day count. And finally, what is my gift to the family of Earth? We all want to give something of ourselves. We all want to make a difference in whatever way we can. Our path of self-discovery, our path to greater fulfillment, is found in discovering what it is that we have to offer. It may be a talent, or it may simply be your presence. Your undivided attention can sometimes be the greatest gift to be given to another. In this inquiry, we discover who we are in community with others, in relationship. We realize that we are whole as human beings because of this capacity to give and receive. Now, in true Unitarian Universalist fashion, I do not have the answers to these questions. I give you the questions. Where they take you, what path you choose, is entirely up to you. So there's one last story that I want to share with you today by Geraldine Edwards. Now, Edwards writes that her daughter had been calling and asking her to come with her to the mountains of San Bernardino to see the daffodils. And when she finally decided to go, this is what happened. We got out of the car, and I followed Carolyn down the path. We turned a corner, and I looked up, and I gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a great vat of gold and poured it down over the mountain peak. The flowers were planted in majestic swirling patterns, great ribbons of orange, white, lemon yellow, salmon pink, saffron, and butter. Each different colored variety was planted as a group so that it swirled and flowed like its own river with its own unique hue. Who has done this? I asked. It's just one woman, Carolyn answered. She lives on the property. That's her home. So we walked toward the house, and on the patio there was a poster that said, "Answers to the questions I know you are asking." The first answer was a simple one. 50,000 bulbs. The second answer was one at a time by one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet, and very little brain. The third answer was began in 1958. There it was, she writes, the daffodil principle. For me, that moment was life-changing. I thought of this woman whom I had never met, who more than 40 years before had begun one bulb at a time to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountaintop. This unknown woman had forever taken knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, sew, show the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, slogans, the great novel, laying bare your words of love and connection. May you love even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and with courage. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.